Hello, everyone, and welcome back to, I think, episode number 6 of the Feeding Curiosity podcast. We are joined yet again by Joe.
Hello.
And we're just going to talk about fitness and nutrition here, just to try and keep a topic that's a little bit more concise and targeted so that for viewing ease and purpose, it's not all over the board like they have been lately. Joe, why don't you start us off and just, I guess, how you got into working out, and we'll go from there, because I think that's a really important thing, is because a lot of people just see themselves stuck and not trying it and seeing themselves as a way that they don't think they could be someone that would either one, enjoy it, or two, get into it.
Yeah, I have a weird fitness thing. Like, how do you say it? Like, eased into it a little bit.
Yes, that's for sure.
In high school, I was in football and I was in track. And before that, I was like in soccer as a kid.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
And baseball before that. So I always done great, but I've always been active. Footballs, I think, really started the ball rolling because I actually cared about football. So I would like work hard, lift. I started lifting in high school. Not much. It took me a long time to get anything going there. But then once I knew I was going to Marine Corps, that was like game time.
Yeah, because I remember when you started going to Marine Corps, you're doing like crazy weighted runs and like crazy PT almost every day and everything like that.
Oh yeah, I was running like, Jesus. I think I ran like 10 miles in order to do that. Shit like that, like real fucking far. I got pretty good at it. I liked it a lot, actually. I'd get to the point where I could kind of just space out and think. It became like meditation while running, which was really good.
Yeah, runner's high, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like just this peaceful thing. Like I would run in the rain, all up on the shot. I'm not that anymore.
I know, running is my arch nemesis a little bit too.
Yeah, the Marine Corps ruined that one for me. It sucked the fun right out of it. But I really went hard for startup. And now since then, it's just been really nice for me. Like part of the schedule, like here, I work out six days a week usually.
Okay. That's actually a little bit more above average, I would say.
Yeah. 4 of those days are lifting exclusively. And 2 of those days are usually they're either like abs. I do abs both of those days. I'll deadlift on a day on its own.
Which makes sense because that's probably one of the more intense full body type lifts.
Yeah. Plus it's just a timing issue. Like I can't be at the gym for 2 hours. I got shit to do. Like doing deadlift on top of like leg day or back there. So we'll just extend it out too much.
So I guess the next question is, where did you learn how to do these lifts properly? Because, people say, for people who are uninitiated, I guess, some people would say that the deadlift is dangerous or even squats are dangerous. Did you watch videos or anything, or did people in Marine Corps help you?
No, they didn't. Not really. So I started learning in football.
That's where I learned some of my stuff too. I don't think I got into it. I just knew of it.
And the coaches were shit. They were really not very good, at least in so far as I interacted. I just didn't get much direction. So it was a lot of just doing things into different places. It wasn't like no mind-mental connections, no real understanding of why form is the way the form is. Like you're not squatting low enough, and that was apparently how you do form. That doesn't tell you nearly enough about what you know or anything like that. So it was like it's bad. I really started learning in the Marine Corps, especially at Fort Sill. So at Fort Sill, I was there for 4 months for a 7-week course, which means that the reason that I was there for so long was because there was a huge surge of people during that time in the Fort Sill. And they just could not fit everybody in the class. So there was a lot of people just fucking waiting around doing nothing.
Oh, wow.
So I just went hard as fuck. I said, I'm going to just like my mindset. I'm a new Marine. I should be in shape. I should uphold that standard. And when people look at me, they should be like, that's a fucking Marine. Like I shouldn't be out of shape at all. So I was just like, all right, I'm going to work the fuck out and get big.
That is such a common theme in Marines, by the way. Like go hard mentality.
It's funny. I can give a story around that. Like it kind of ties in a little bit. We'll go on a tangent. I found out here that all the presidents of the SB have been Marines, which is funny. Like
really?
It's at least here in Michigan. So it's like we're talking to this one of the faculty members that helps us out. And he was like, oh yeah, he's like, for some reason, he's like, always end up being president here. He was like, and also more Marines get into Michigan than any other branch, like relatively, especially given the sheer small number of people that are actually Marine. There's really just not that
because the majority of people go to Army, Navy, right?
Oh yeah, like way fucking more. So it's mind-blowing there's so many Marines that come here. And he said that the reason for it is that Marines basically just be like, fuck it, I'm going to try. Or a lot of other...
It's almost like a startup mentality, like having that just, I don't care if I fail, you're going to go for it. That's almost like a microcosm of what working out is. You kind of go for something, and then if you fail, what happens? God forbid you get hurt, but that's what the spotter's there for.
It was just, I have a basic understanding of how lifts work. And that was my prime focus. Just to learn how to lift. So it was like I'd go on bodybuilding.com, great resource.
That's exactly what I did.
I got pre-workouts and shit for the first time.
That's the one everyone tries.
It's baby's first pre-workout.
Yeah, it really is. and then you realize it's one of the worst ones ever once you get into.
They've got like decent ones now. You should just be a metric fuck ton of caffeine, beta alanine. You just get tingly and wired.
Yeah, I would
That's
say
right.
my starting is a little bit different because I only did sports freshman year football, and I weighed 110 pounds,
Okay.
and I didn't ever lift or do a sport in my life. Went through that, and it was like I got to a point where I was at community college. I had a intro level job before done with school, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be here for a while until I'm done with everything. And then once I got to like this stable level of, it's like this I don't know where this came from at all, but it was like a mutual friend of ours was in college, and he had started lifting again in college, came back for like winter break, and he was like, dude, you gotta try going to the gym, you're gonna like it. I was like, I don't know, man, I'm fucking busy. The classic excuse.
Pull something out of thin air.
And then that sowed the seed. It was like there in the back of my head. I started seeing him getting like muscular and in shape and just progress from what he was doing. And I was like, in my head, I was like, what do I want to do? And then right around this time, what happened is I just started like researching stuff. And back then I was drinking like 6 cans of pop a day. Like it was just terrible. After that, I was 21 or just around there. I've done three Tough Mudders now.
You were older than I thought you were. I don't know why.
I got to the point where it was like kind of like mind and body. So I was like, okay, I know I'm smart enough, but like mind and body are the same. So if your body's not healthy, then your brain isn't going to be firing as well as your body could, or vice versa. It's like a symbiosis. And so I just, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to commit fully. So I decided, it was like in middle of May, I was just like, I'm done drinking pop. I quit cold turkey that day and didn't drink like a can of pop for like a whole year, or like maybe one for like a holiday or something. And I still really hold to that to this day. Sometimes here or there, I'll get like a caffeine itch or a sugar itch where I'm just like, I need something sweet. But that's what pre-workout is for, surprisingly. They usually have some sort of sweetener in there that isn't as unhealthy as just sugar. And then it just went down the rabbit hole where like every day at work in the morning, while checking emails or something, I would just be like reading a new article on bodybuilding.com and getting like a diet thing going and just slowly building up, watching videos, constantly trying new things. And I think I tried 2 or 3 programs that they have on there, how they follow like day by day. But now it's gotten to the point where I can just do whatever I want because it's not as structured, I would call it, but it's more loose and it's got a small set of moves that I like to do over an everyday basis almost, because I don't really do too much of a bodybuilding stuff. But yeah, the starting was also, I think the other thing I did is because I remembered what I did in high school. So that kind of like hangs over you when you're like never got to a point of being proficient or seeing any like improvement. So I like gave myself the okay. I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this, you have to pretend like anything you did before never happened. Wipe the slate clean so that I wasn't like going to judge myself for where I then. Because if I was going to be like, oh man, I remember doing so much better here or whatever, like I didn't care. Like check the ego at the door was what the idea was. And then once I was able to do that and just put your head down and just every day you're going to get a little bit better or whatever, try a little bit harder. And now I'm still doing it to this day. I think I do, 5 to 6 days a week, depending.
Mostly like kettlebells.
Yeah. So now my workout, I did 3 different phases initially. So it was like super hardcore bodybuilding, then like a power building, which is like powerlifting with a few days of bodybuilding mixed in. And then once the first Tough Mudder came around this time in like March, February, April-ish, because the first Tough Mudder was in May, I started doing a whole bunch of running and calisthenics. So like push-ups, pull-ups. And then I noticed that my body was responding to that really well back then. And then that was always like my default whenever I like needed to like drop weight or cut fat. My body just reacts to like body weight movements better for some reason.
I noticed it really works for me. Like on the 2 days, I always hit the heavy, and I love that.
Cardio heavy bag stuff.
Oh yeah, like I'll run a mile and then do what I've been doing recently is 3 rounds of 5 minutes. And I'm like fucking drenched by the end of that shit. I enjoy it.
Set up somewhere or go to a gym like that. Yeah. I was thinking about Muay Thai. I was actually listening to one of Rogan's podcasts. He had world champion Muay Thai boxer. I think he's from France. He's from Europe, and he had his coach on too. And it was really interesting to hear them talk about like the best Muay Thai fighters in the world and stuff like that. Cause it's really not popular in the United States. And I just really think it's really cool. Like just listening to them just talk shop
at MTC. That's what I'm going to be doing
this
summer. I'm doing there before.
I remember doing it too when I was first doing it. I really want to just for the summer. But yeah, so like this whole journey, it was really strange too, because like right around when I started working out, I got into podcasts slowly. Right, that was like my first foray into it, like TED Talk, like the TED Radio Order, NPR, and those were my first few podcasts. And then I was like slowly. I remember someone, and probably it was one of our other mutual friends who's really into mixed martial arts, who had mentioned Joe Rogan's podcast, and I was like, I don't know anything about this guy, because so this is the thing for iTunes is that their labeling system for podcast names or categories is terrible, because they call Rogan's podcast a comedy. It's definitely not just a comedy.
It definitely is comedy.
It definitely is, but it's not only that. It's just too narrow.
So I don't know what you would call Rogan's podcast.
No, I think you just pick your niche and then just go from there. But so like I just gave it a shot. I'm like, I don't really like comedy that much. I wouldn't call myself a comedy. And I'm like, wait, this is not like I probably hit one of the episodes that was like a science one or something like that. I was like, what?
Oh, I get it.
I'm like, okay, I see why this is a thing now. Because it's just a conversation between people, and then I've been exposed to a whole new world of MMA and like different people, like Jocko, was a special forces, a SEAL and stuff like that, and just like expanding a knowledge base into different areas that I would never have expected that I would get into. As like when I first went to our local mixed martial arts gym, when I first did BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was like, it felt like I had come full circle, kind of like it's like I had like always meant to be there, which was really strange feeling for me. Like it was almost surreal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're hearing about it. And
like you're just exposed to it, and then all of a sudden you're there and you're like around it. And like our friend was telling me, like the instructor's like a real black belt and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is so weird. And
that was a good experience for me to go there. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to do it either.
I realized it was funny because there was a point where I was like nervous about going. I don't think I'm going to do this. And then I was like, oh, I get it. Now I have to do it.
That is the best statement you'd ever say.
It's like a second that I realized that was something that made me uncomfortable, I was like, yep, okay, now I have to do this.
That's
the point where I was totally comfortable.
Oh my God, that is so good, dude. Because that could be called like fear setting. It's like inoculating yourself to small things that like take you out of your comfort zone, right? I guess that we could also talk about when I did my Tough Mudder for the first time. You weren't there because you were still in the Marines. And then, so I talked about it. We had pictures up and everything like that. And then next one, you came home and you were like ready for it. Like you were looking way forward to it. So you could probably talk about how Tough Mudder and stuff makes you feel like that Marine-esque experience of just putting
it takes me back.
It transports you back to that military mode, right?
Yeah, it's probably the setting and the type of thing.
It's the setting from like those military style runs.
Yeah, it reminds me of stuff that we did on like the Crucible stuff in Marine combat training, MCT. Asking for that gym and combat training was too close.
It's really close.
It reminds me of courses that we do there. So it was like when I do it again at Tough Mudder, it was like, oh, I get it. Like I'm back in the zone, and there's this mentality. I don't know. It's like the warrior mentality.
That's exactly what it is.
It absolutely doesn't matter what obstacle there is. Like it's actually pointless. It actually does not matter because I'm gonna get through it anyway.
I don't think I've ever really failed any of the obstacles.
Oh no, when we have gone the last 2 times, like we've crushed it.
No. And it's not even like they on the website. If you go onto the toughmudder.com website, you can look at all the obstacles they have. And not every obstacle be at the race you go to, because it's all around the country or in the global scene wherever you live. But if you can see like there's certain things have like strength, cooperation, or grit, which is technically mental toughness. And I would say 90% of them are actually a mental toughness challenge. It's saying, where is your limit, and are you willing to go beyond that limit, or is your limit too much?
Dude, it's all mental. You can see people that are like way in better shape than I am, like freaks, and they fail on simple obstacles just because you can tell that they weren't committed to complete.
Like you see guys that are definitely look more fit, right? I guess a new word would be like Instagram fit.
Like there's people you'll see. Here's what it looks like to me. Like I specifically think of that obstacle where it's the monkey bars that go up.
It's called the funky monkey.
Yeah, you swing from the monkey bars onto another bar that's like a circle and it spins. So it spins your body around.
It's like an incline monkey bar. So it's a little bit harder.
And then there's the last portion where you go from horizontal spinning bars to vertical spinning bars, and people will grab them
to pull, so you have to do hand over hand rather than.
So people will grab them, and instead of, if they miss, they'll let go with their other hand. So it's like their expectation was that they were going to grab the bar in front of it and then they were going to swing, but what ends up happening is they reach out of the bar and they slip. So you see people that it's almost like a panic setting. They just go, nope, didn't do it, and then they drop.
Especially that freaks people out because there's that moment of doubt where they don't think they're going to grab the bar in front of them. So then when they panic, then they undercut themselves because they're nervous nervous, that kind of thing, where you just don't. I don't know if it was me or you, but like the first time I didn't have enough distance and I tried for it and then I had to reset. Whereas like the average person would freak out at that point and then just fall.
Dude, when we were at the end of it, I had to reaching from, I forget which fucking portion to the other portion, but I like would reach for it with my left hand, and because my hands are all wet, I slipped 3 times and I would just stop.
You have to stop yourself and keep mental fortitude to be able to be like, hey, just take a deep breath here. You're going to be okay. Just don't lose it. And the other part about Tough Mudder, which is the whole, so let me rewind a little bit here. So when I first got into working out, it was like 3 months later. So this gets a little personal, but basically it was about 3 months later. So if I started in May, that was like June, July, August. So right around school was starting. But my dad had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And this is right when I had started basically like overhauling everything I did. And I was like, all of a sudden it put everything I was doing in this like stark contrast. I'm like, oh my God, I'm reading about bodybuilding diets. And then all of a sudden I come home and my dad's, hey, I have this new condition. And I'm like, whoa, freaking out a little bit. And then
is it hereditary?
No, that's the type 2 is the one where you just have overabundance of insulin. Type 1 is the one that's or is the type 1 is where your body can't process carbohydrates as well anymore for the insulin dump. Basically, type 2 is the one that you get from eating like crap over a long period of time. For lack of finesse, I guess you would call it. But basically around that time, I was kind of like getting really into this and like understanding now what I would call low glycemic foods versus high glycemic foods, breads and sugars and stuff like that. And I was reading them. They give you pamphlets from the doctor that say, these are the type of foods you should be eating that are like good for diabetics, limiting carbs basically. And I'm like, whoa, this stuff is exactly the same as how a bodybuilder should eat if you want to be low fat but still gain muscle. But obviously you can play with it a little bit more. There's some nuance that is beyond the scope of this right now. But and I just thought, I was just like, whoa, this is like a whole new world. And if everyone just ate like this, we wouldn't have this. Then after it got to a point though where I was like, I didn't want to just do weightlifting for the vain side of it, to look good in the mirror, to have the 6-pack, to have the big muscles, blah, 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 blah. So I was looking at things. I'm like, how do I want to do this? And for some reason I knew of Tough Mudder. I can't tell you how exactly, but the reason I chose Tough Mudder is that it wasn't a solo experience. And that was really important because I think when you can take yourself out of a scenario like everyday life and then put yourself into something that you can bring your friends with and share a moment and something that's hard and something you don't never ever get to do unless you're in the military, like Joe was explaining, it just totally breaks up the monotony of real. And I think that's really important. And it's such a bonding moment to have with your friends, because like we did it with 4 people the first time, and it was like one of the most, it sucked the next day, but during the whole thing, it was fun. It was so fun to have your friend behind you and you're like helping each other up and you're pulling things over and stuff like that. It was just different. It's like that, like you said, warrior mentality, like that tribal.
It builds camaraderie.
Yeah, like the crucible type moment. And for me, it was like, I knew I was going to do it no matter what, even if none of my friends had gone with, but I really wanted to be able to share that moment with people, because I thought that it shouldn't just be a solo journey to do these things, because the more people you get around you and see, hey, this is what you're doing as a positive impact, it comes off on people.
Yeah, I got that experience. Yeah, the same. I agree. Like what we did with Mike the first year, like that. It makes me think that I think in modern culture, we need to have some kind of like passage.
Yeah, we don't have one.
At least it's been lost.
At least from a male side standpoint of it.
I don't know if it appeals to women quite.
No, not as much, I would say. I feel like it's certain women now, like when they're trying to like break the mold / stereotype, it can appeal. But yeah, from like a male, because like when you were in like caveman times, you'd be taken out on a hunting party and then you would be given the passage of going after an animal or something, or taking an animal down.
Maybe like, I think it was an Australian, I can't remember exactly, but I might be wrong about where this is coming from. The men would, when you become a man, you carry around the stone axe, and you earn your stone axe you get taken out on like a journey for a couple of weeks to the bush, and you have to survive with a mentor who's there with you. And that person doesn't just teach you how to survive, but also like teaches you how to be a man in some sense. And then you have that symbolic axe that's handed down to you, and then you carry that around. I think that having something like that is like the opportunity for young men to really come into their own in some sense. This real defined, clear challenge that they have to overcome. It allows for personal growth and for like this, it's a symbolic gesture of becoming an adult.
Absolutely. And there's really not that anymore. It's tragic too, because with the advent of all this technological advancement, our parents can't give us a rite of passage really anymore. Not as much, unless like it is something physical in nature where you go camping for a week.
Yeah.
Unless you can disconnect from technology, because there's really within technology, there's no passing of a torch, so to speak. Because like by the time I would say we were in high school, we were probably surpassed average parent level of education, unless your parent is like a doctor or something. I just see not having a sort of like crucible moment growing up leaves people feeling lost.
It's like, how do you know when you're an adult?
Right. Yeah. Like I was about to say, I'm like, I can't really tell you if I had a moment where I really felt like I was an adult. Because like by 18/21, you have all the rights of an adult human being. Do you really understand what that means?
I think people need that. They need that clear designation in some sense.
And then the other part of working out for me too, or like fitness stuff, it opened the door that the experimental mindset, like you don't need to have someone's authority to be able to try something. So being able,
I don't know. I almost wish that this is why bow hunting like appeals to me. Hearing Rogan talk about it and all this stuff.
he's got to stop talking about it, because every time he talks about it, I'm just like, I want to get on it.
Here's something, a funny little anecdote. I was talking to this chick, we could talk, and we were getting coffee and everything. I think that the reason, she got my number, but I think she didn't text me is because she's a vegan. And she said that it was like unethical, push back on that. Like it's more ethical than factory farming, more ethical than that. I can also understand that it's like this ancestral callback to like human history. Like you're doing an hunter-gatherer thing. It's an experience. It's about an outdoors experience. It's just about killing an animal. And she liked that. I'm wondering if that's anything, or because I was fucking wearing a really warm shirt, drinking a fuckload of coffee and sweating. It was a lot warmer than it was supposed to.
Oh, Jesus, Joe.
I don't know. Either I'm sweaty and gross, or I might have.
It's not hard to upset a vegan.
No.
But yeah, I agree. I agree with a lot of what Rogan says about hunting, because he doesn't, like, if you really think about like the animal he kills, so he hunts elk and deer, and those each are like 100 pounds at least, or a couple 100 pounds. That can feed an entire family for an entire year if you ration it properly. And just to me, just the understanding of you're going to be using a piece of technology that is integral to the human advancement as a species. Obviously, you probably use a compound bow, which is a little bit more advanced, but in general, if you have that, I think it just feels really cool to be able to be proficient with something that is so old.
I wonder if it doesn't like reawaken some old genes.
Yeah, could like the epistemic or epigenetic? Is that it?
Yeah, epigenetic. That wouldn't quite work the same way.
No, I'm trying to think of it. But yeah, some sort of like long dormant part of what makes you a human being or a hunter.
Yeah, this probably sounds a little out there, but I think the experience is a very real thing. That like you go out, you have a definite goal, and that's all you have. Like you're not on your phone, you're not distracted.
I think that is a really important point. Being able to disconnect yourself from everyday modern technology in front of screens and computers and your phone, and not wanting to have the luxuries that we have in everyday life, having like water and clean clothes and a shower and food always. And you're just, how many times a year do you ever get uncomfortable from being like doing something like other than being at the gym?
Like to be able to get out of this, it's honestly, I think it's almost more real, kind of modern modernity shit. Like just being on your phone, be on the computer, whatever it is all the time is just so inept.
Absolutely.
We're lost in it too. And I just think that, especially being going back, I think that's part of what makes it so powerful, is specifically, other than just disconnecting, but also doing that, the hunting itself isn't necessarily the point. Like the food isn't. Like you could get food somewhere else. You could go to the grocery store. Why bother hunting? But it provides a clear directive and a means of knowing that you've accomplished something. Like you can go out there and wander around. You can go on a hike. Essentially, this thing, like hike around a camp for 2 days.
Yeah, if you don't want to, if ethically speaking, you don't feel like hunting.
But like hunting provides almost like a clear sign of accomplishment.
Right. Yeah. Because there's a goal at the end of that, and then not only it's Rogan talks to his guest, but like the respect you gain because that is something you provide now for your family and stuff like that.
Well, I think you also get like respect for the animal too. Like you finally learn, like really learn through that experience that the food that you comes at a cost. I think that's actually important for a lot of people to recognize.
Especially right now. You can literally, like for me, I have a 5-minute drive down to the local Walmart and I can buy any kind of food I can ever imagine and then cook it at home with literally, it's just the time it takes and the money you spend to buy it. Or even lazier, I can go down to Chipotle and I can say, give me a bowl with X, Y, and Z. And then I'm done. I don't even have to think about what I want to eat or anything like that. It's just like, hey, I'm going to go here. I'm going to get this kind of food. I'm done. It's so convenient. It's ridiculously convenient.
It makes you appreciative, I think, to go through the challenge to get it. It's not equivalent, but like the challenges of the Marine Corps taught me very much to recognize just how almost silly modern life kind of is. It's just so, everything seems so trite in comparison for like war. Not that I went to war, but just to know that's there. That's
Like hard, to put it more like hard shit, like things that actually mean life or death, right?
Just the knowledge of being in that kind of place. I don't know. It's really hard to describe what it was like.
I can't even speak of it because I wasn't there, but I just have an idea of it.
It's just, I don't know. It's strange. And some people fall prey to this holier than thou, or I guess just better than
Really?
military mentality where the civilian problems aren't real. Like they don't matter. They do. Like relationships do matter. And like all these things are real and should be taken seriously. I'm not trying to undermine that. Really, we're not trying to say that the problems that people experience in their modern lives real, but it's something that adds perspective and being in a position where you can't, the problems are bigger than that, or at least different kinds of problems. It just adds a new perspective.
I get like that too sometimes when I see some of these different issues that pop up on the internet and get mainstream attention. I'm just like, it makes me sad at some points where I'm just like, man, if people cared about things that actually could like the whole planet better and we put the entire weight of certain things behind it, we could make leaps and bounds way faster than we are today. Or like some of the problems that we have today that seem like these insurmountable things would be less insurmountable.
I get frustrated. I'm like, why are we fucking around? Like we're complaining about celebrity, maybe even some of our politics outrage. If we could direct that same energy to something that's actually productive, fucking imagine what we could get done. There's so many problems in the world. If all we did is stop worrying about it and just went out and fucking did something, like, could you imagine what could actually get done?
Like to me too, the amount of like anger and outrage that people show everybody else is, to me, it makes it it's like, why are we so angry at each other? Like we're all just people, and we're gonna have disagreeing opinions and things like that, but we're all coming from it from a different angle. No one is ever gonna agree 100%. And then you turn into these campy little tribal things and it just gets mired down and everyone just starts talking past each other, or rather flinging shit across the room. Yeah, the analogy is great. And it just makes me upset because it's just, I wrote this in one of my blog posts, is that at the end of the day, we're all part of one team human. Because if we can't get along one day and someone gets so upset, someone does something stupid, we're all dead. We're all fucking dead. And that's dark and really dark, but it scares me sometimes because we're pretty fragile. And just rolling this back into the whole fitness part of it is, I think, I remember when I started working out a lot more, I remember feeling a lot calmer. Like letting out like energy in the gym diffuses your own internal tension. It's almost like Zen moment for me when I go there.
Endorphins. Yeah, no, I can tell I'm in a better mood after I do, especially after I did like that day. I'm usually in a good mood. Like really pushing myself, sweating and being in it and stuff, like puts me in the right mindset. Like I could not survive. I don't think I could deal with this stress.
Oh, I did. With how full your schedule is.
It's not even that crazy too, for sure. Next year is gonna be way worse, like in the fall. So it's like knowing that already, I'm like, I have to schedule working out. Like I need that thing because I need a couple of hours where I can just work, sweat, and be done with it.
Hey, just for specifics, when do you usually work out? Like a time of day?
Man, it's all over the place. It's usually in the morning, or it's probably either 10 a.m. or like 3:30, usually.
So that's pretty average, I would say.
So I try to do it in the morning because there's less people at the gym.
I know your pain. The gym around here, it's not fun. For me, just being able to go there, especially since on average I'm there either about noon or I'm about 4 o'clock. What I've noticed lately too is that if I'm listening to something with spoken word, I have a harder time focusing, like getting into the moment. But if I just put on music and then I just zone out. I forget about the music. It's just looking at, because I have a Fitbit watch, so I look at my heart rate lately and I'm just like, all right, let's see how high I can get this heart rate to go. Stuff like that, where I'm going to beat myself to death right now or something. And I can feel it. Like Saturday of this week, I did tire flips for the first time ever. And I don't know how heavy this tire was. I would probably say anywhere between 60 to probably 50 to 70 pounds. And I would do 8 flips and then do push-ups in between and stuff. And I was just like, I was just dying by the end. I was just like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted right now. And then like when you leave, it feels like you did something for the day. Like it feels silly to say this, but it's like I earned my shower for the day.
I almost get that feeling more not in lifting, because like I can push myself hard in lifting, but it's not quite the same. Like there's a point where you just fail. Can't lift anymore.
It's not a mental thing at that point. It's just a thing of, oh, my muscles are done. You can just feel it. You're just like, oh, yep, you can't do it.
If I'm hitting the heavy bag, sweating balls, I'm like out of breath, and I can just tough it out for a minute.
Your arms start burning, your shoulders start burning. You feel every punch going through your arms, and it's just, no, I'm not quitting.
One punch you land.
Yeah, like you feel your wrist tweak a little bit or something like that.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like that's what I was doing today. I was doing sprints on the treadmill, and I was doing like 30-second intervals. That last set, I was like, oh, dude, this is 30 seconds gonna suck. I'm 15 seconds in, my calves are burning, my legs are starting to feel like they're not running straight anymore. I'm like, nope, you're not giving up yet. So then I went like an extra 5 seconds because of that. Stuff like that. Just those little like tweaks that you can do to you test your own limits, I guess.
I can snap in way better. I think part of it is just, I know that I'm on some time restraints. I have other things I have to get done, so it's no time to fuck around. And then the other part of it is just I'm so switched on while I'm here, just because I have so much shit that I have to do.
You have so much to do, and you don't have people there to be like, hey, want to go get a beer tonight? That kind of thing. I guess you do have the old military guys now.
I got really drunk last night because they did like so stupid. I was like we were literally out till past midnight. I'm like, I can't believe I don't do this. But it was like one beer led to another, led to us getting a drink that's named after a professor that is the faculty member that helps us.
Oh no.
It got out of control pretty quick. So
man, it sounds like you're back at home.
Generally, it's just I'm so focused on getting school done, or doing, not just done, but like doing well at whatever I'm doing, that it's like that bleeds over into the gym. So I go there and I'm like, I just want to fucking kill it today. Like I want to do well. And I don't quite have that at home. I know it's harsh, but just I'm too comfortable.
Absolutely. I feel that. I definitely agree with you.
I don't even want to get an apartment over the summer. I don't know.
I was just talking about it lately, and I forget who asked me, but basically it was like, would you think about leaving? And I was like, I think at this point I want to leave, because it's so easy to be like, I have my parents here and like my friends here and everything's just easy and comfortable. Like certain things I don't have to deal with or whatever. And having that, I guess the best way to call it is like a safety net. It just makes it so you don't have to really push the envelope.
Yeah,
and like,
it facilitates laziness.
And like the things I want to do, hence this podcast and where I want to go with it. I can't really build a studio in my parents' house. I can't like to invite people over for interviews. I'm like, that's not a thing. That's beyond the scope of what I should be able to ask for. It's just the point of you got to leave the nest to just go on your own path and figure it out.
I'm like, since I've been here, I've been able to like switch on skill sets that I didn't use or really have before, which is really cool.
Really? Like what can you say specifically?
Socializing with people I don't know, like way fucking better at it. Like I'm a better listener now for sure. I think part of it was half of it was conscious because I knew that I had to like get out and meet people and really establish myself and not just isolate.
I feel like for me, it's really easy to isolate around here because
we have our group of friends. That's what it is.
Right.
That's what I realized. And back home, it's like we have our established group of friends. So I'm not trying to make friends. You know what I mean? Like it's not on the priority list. Like I've already got a group of friends that I spend all my time with. I don't need to find a social. But like here, I was forced to, and I'm really happy about it because there's a lot of really cool people here. And then also, I've been lucky to be surrounded by a handful of people that are really good socializers. Like you can listen. Try to pay attention to other people and how they interact with others. And there's some people that are really good at picking up other people's behavior, questions, lines of inquiry. They'll pull out and be like, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me about that." So I've been able to learn by watching other people do what they do, just being social. And it's really helped. It's awesome. And I never would have been able to learn that at home. No fucking way. Because I have my comfortable place and I'm also not bumping shoulders with that many people I don't know. So it's just, there's no need for it. So that gets turned off. But since coming here, that's really grown in me.
That's one of those things that I think about too, is like, how do you branch out to find new avenues of either thinking or just of trying to move past your own comfort zone? When
you have to move yourself to a new environment.
Because like, I just hit my 4-year work anniversary. I was like, holy crap, I've been here for so long already. And I'm like, I just don't feel like I just feel like it's not going anywhere new, right? I'm like, how do I fix this? And the cool thing is like right now I got a new boss and he's like into podcasts and stuff like that. So I can bounce new ideas off of him and stuff. And he's like from a completely, he's like from Arizona. So they get like a microcosm of Arizona type culture and stuff like that, which is interesting. And he also went to West Point, which is even more interesting. He's a military guy and worked in defense for years and years. So that's just another part. Listening to people's stories, I think, is one of the best ways of getting new understanding.
Yeah, dude. Would you consider going to grad?
I've thought about it, honestly. I don't know what I would major in at this point because I almost feel like taking what I know as an engineer and then trying to transition that into something new that feels very engineering would be a really interesting leap, if that makes sense.
There's a really good engineer school here.
That doesn't surprise me. I think that's where one of my brother's friends.
I didn't realize. I still am fucking befuddled about how this school is elite, and I did not know. I just don't understand.
The people you run into, you're gonna have to start writing down their names and looking at them for 10 years from now.
The motherfucker, this guy, they called him back and they were like, yo, so they like offered him a different job or want to interview for a different job.
That's super weird for a job.
Yeah, because he worked as a welder for 4 years. They called him, they're like, so we actually want you to apply for, we have a welding job that is like a specific position that is like that you would work with because he's got his engineering degree, so use him. And then they like need special types of welding and
Wow, that is really cool, actually.
so he was like, he doesn't know if he's gonna take it because he was like, let's fucking be an engineer. So he might not take it. He might end up work Pratt and Whitney or something. I can't remember. And Chrysler, he got an interview with Chrysler.
That doesn't surprise me. This like whole area in the Midwest is very auto and manufacturing heavy. That's just what I know from my background right now where I'm in a really interesting situation right now because I am really autonomous in what I can do at my current position. And I'm kind of like, is my senior design project. I'm like a pseudo program lead / I'm trying to look at this as like a startup project, which is, I don't know. I think it's just because of my exposure with the different podcasts I listen to are very much of that mindset. So I don't know. It's interesting where I'm at right now. And then once I'm done, it feels like the world is yours kind of feeling. And I have lots of ideas.
You just have this last term, right?
It's the senior design. So I got this one and next one, and then it's elective stuff, which is a little bit harder to schedule out because it's a weird time.
Like when you're done with school, it's December, right?
Hopefully. I don't know yet.
Is he in summer school?
No, because it doesn't pay. Because I have to go like 4 times a week for one class to drive that much. Just doesn't, not economical at all because I can't work then.
Have you hit your limit for transfer credit?
Yeah, I hit it. I had 80 credits or something because I stayed there longer and then just got everything out of the way as much as I could before I transferred. So I had the maximum number of credits transferable.
When you start interviewing and shit.
I know. I'm going to be really excited once I can start. This summer, I really want to start. This is actually a good point to wrap up because we're about to hit our hour. But basically this summer, once everybody's back home from school, I really want to transition this podcast to more of an interview style, kind of like how this one was, a pseudo interview conversation, which was cool. And I actually like the flow of this one a lot. It was kept a little bit more on topic.
More structured.
It has its own flavor to it, which I like. And this is a little bit experimental. So let us know how you guys liked it. If you feel so inclined. Other than that, this summer for sure, I really want to start kicking things into a different gear and stuff like that. I do want to do a shameless plug here and mention that my YouTube channel, which is strictly gaming, in which how I started doing my content creation, broadly speaking, has just hit its 100 subscriber mark, which is super fun. Also not expected in the slightest at all because it's such a very tight niche. Other than that, we all know Joe since he's been returning and like the co-host at this point.
Yeah, I'll be back. I think I'm going to post all probably edit them a little bit, but my papers that I did during this semester and put them on.
Oh, that'd be super cool.
So it'll be like one paper on famine in Kazakhstan. There'll be another paper on George Berkeley and his ideal was Descartes. There'll be one on him.
Yeah, so that's another thing I want to do is obviously Joe, we talked, like at least the last few podcasts, we talked a lot about psychology and stuff like that and history. And for some of you that may get a little boring after a while or too much, but that's just what he's immersed himself in at the time being. And it's probably going to wind up happening more often than not, but we're hoping to get diversifying opinions in the future, which would be really cool. Or having a dichotomy between multiple different disciplines or areas of expertise. So I think that's where we'll leave this one for now. I hope you guys enjoyed it and just our personal take on what at least fitness / working out and then a little bit of mindset stuff sprinkled in there as well. And just viewpoints on a little bit of other things not wrong with society, but things that areas of improvement, I guess you would call it. So with that, see you all in the next one, everybody, and hope you will enjoy.